So let's start with today's recipe. Now here I've taken 3 eggs. I've just beat the eggs really well. And now I'm going to add this to a large mixing bowl. Now we're going to add 3/4 cup of powdered sugar to the eggs. Whisk the eggs and the sugar really well for at least a whole minute. Next, we're going to go and add in 1/4 cup of butter, which is at room temperature. And now I'm going to whisk this mixture for a whole 5 minutes. So you could go with a regular whisk like this, or you could also use an electric whisk. And we're going to whisk this till this mixture turns into a light or a pale white color, like this. Now I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence. Again, whisk the mixture well. Get everything together. And now we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I'm also going to be adding 1/4 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. Whisk everything in well together till all of the cocoa powder mixes in really well with the rest of the ingredients. So take your time for about half a minute. Now here I have 1.5 cup of plain flour and 1/4 cup of mixed fruit peel. I'm going to mix the fruit peel into the flour really well. Now the reason behind this is that if you mix the fruit peel with the flour, then it evenly gets distributed in the batter and doesn't settle to the bottom. So if you add the fruit peel directly, it might just all sink to the bottom. But if you add it to the flour, then it gets evenly mixed in with the rest of the batter, and we know your cake will have this little fruit peel, or as some of them call it tutti frutti, evenly spread out in the cake. So don't skip this step. And now add half of this flour mixture to the rest of the ingredients in the bowl and just fold the mixture in well, and then add the other half of the flour and again fold the mixture in really well till everything is really mixed in nicely. Now you will find that the mixture is a little bit dense and dryish. So we want to have a nice, soft and light cake. So I'm going to add about 4 tablespoons of milk. This will make the cake nice and moist. And really, the cake is really, really delicious. So now mix everything really well. You get a nice smooth kind of a batter like this. And now I'm just going to add 1/4 cup of chopped almonds and cashew nuts. You can add whatever dry fruits or nuts that you like. I'm keeping it plain and simple with just some cashew nuts and almonds. Now preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius for about 10 minutes. Here I've lined a 7 by 7 inch cake tin with some butter paper, and I'm just going to add this batter to our prepared cake tin. Now just pat the or tap the tin, so that everything gets really evenly spread out in the cake tin. And now I'm just going to add about 2 tablespoons of chopped cashew nuts and almonds on top. This will have a lovely toasted kind of an effect. And it really, adds a little bit of crunch to that cake. And then I'm also going to add 2 tablespoons of mixed fruit peel as well. And now all you have to do is just bake this at 180 degrees Celsius for about 25 minutes. Now our cake is ready. Let it come to room temperature. We'll just check it. So I'm just inserting a sharp knife, and you can see the knife has come out nice and clean. So our cake is all ready. So we're just going to wait for it to cool to room temperature, and then I'm just going to demold it, take off all the butter paper. And here it is, friends. Our lovely cake is all ready. This is really a very delicious cake. So do give it a try and do. So friends, let's see today's lovely recipe of custard tarts. Now I'm just going to dust my surface with flour, and I'm going to roll out this puff pastry. Now I'm using a ready-made puff pastry, but I will leave a link of how to prepare this. Now I'm going to grease a muffin tin with some butter. I'm going to take any round object like a vati, or if you have a kind of a mold, and just cut them up into 6 rounds. Then I'm going to place them into my muffin holder. Just ensure that the pastry is in line with the muffin holder. It shouldn't be too much outside or too, halfway. It shouldn't be halfway through the muffin. It should be exactly touching the tip of the muffin holder. And just dab down the bottom or the base of the pastry. And we're going to set this aside. Now we're going to prepare the filling, which is a custard filling. Now for that, I've used 1 1/4 cup of milk, 2 eggs, 3/4 cup of powdered sugar, that is sugar just run in my mixer and made into a powder, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder, half a teaspoon of vanilla essence, and 2 tablespoons of corn flour. Now I'm going to take a non-stick pan. I'm going to add the eggs, and I'm going to beat the eggs really well. So you can directly put all your ingredients into the pan in which you're going to cook the custard. You don't need to put it into a separate bowl and then add it over here. Then I'm going to add the vanilla essence. I'm going to add the cinnamon powder. And I'm going to whisk all of this very, very well. Next, I'm going to add the powdered sugar. So you can use icing sugar for this, or you can just take regular sugar and blend it in your mixer and add it. Now let all of the sugar nicely dissolve. There should not be any lumps of sugar. Ensure that, and for that you can use a whisk. Next, I'm going to be adding in the milk. And again, mix everything really well together. Now last and but not the least, I'm going to add the corn flour, which is the thickening agent. And I'm going to mix everything so that the mixture is lump free. We don't want any lumps in this mixture. Now I'm going to place the mixture on the gas top on a very low to medium flame and continuously whisk it till the mixture thickens, but it shouldn't be so thick that I cannot pour it. So it should be thick enough but of a pourable consistency. So the minute the mixture starts coating the back of your spoon, then means your mixture is ready. It shouldn't be too runny or it shouldn't be too thick. It should be like a porridge consistency which can be poured. Because now we're going to run this mixture through a sieve or a strainer. And then, so you can see all of the whatever was, the cinnamon which was not ground properly or whatever remains back. And then I'm just going to pour this mixture into these puff pastries. At this time I would preheat my oven to 200 degrees Celsius or 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 minutes. Always preheat your oven. And then I'm going to bake this at 200 degrees Celsius or 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 minutes. It all depends on your oven, so keep checking them. Once they become golden brown like this, once they're out of the oven, let them rest till they're completely cooled down before you demold them. And your lovely custard tarts are all ready. You can enjoy this with a lovely cup of tea or coffee. begin with today's lovely honey bell like cakes. So here I have 3 eggs. This is 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence mixed with 1 teaspoon of honey. This is 3 tablespoons of milk. This is about 3/4 of a cup of butter at room temperature. This is 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour or maida, 3/4 cup of icing sugar, a teaspoon of baking powder. So those are our ingredients. That's all we require. Now I'm going to add the milk to the eggs. We are also going to be adding a mixture of honey and vanilla essence, and we're going to whisk the mixture together. Now you could increase the amount of honey to 2 teaspoons also, but I like to keep it a little bit less. I don't want the honey to overpower the flavor of this dish. Now I'm going to mix up all the dry ingredients. So I'm adding my baking powder to the all-purpose flour maida, and I'm just going to mix it in together. Now we're going to add the icing sugar a little at a time and whisk everything well together. So I mixed in about half of the icing sugar first, and now I'm going to pour in the rest of the icing sugar and mix everything well together. So here we have all our dry ingredients together and give everything a good mix. So now, since all our dry ingredients are nice and mixed together, we're going to add our butter, which has to be at room temperature. And then we're going to fold in the butter into the dry ingredients. They have to get in well, mixed up well. That is, the butter and the dry ingredients should be mixed up very, very well. And then we're going to add half of our wet ingredients, and we are going to give everything a good mix. Now you can switch to a whisk. We found that the whisk was much more helpful once we added the wet ingredients. And then we're going to add the remaining of the wet ingredients mixture. Now you will realize that this batter is a little on the thicker and denser side. It's not very, very liquidy or light. It is a little on the denser side. But that's how we want the cake batter to be. So give everything a good mix so that all the ingredients get mixed up very, very well. Now this would be a good time to preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius. Now I'm going to leave the measures of everything in the description box below. Now you get these type of cake molds in this long honey bell kind of shape, honey bell cake shape. So just take a scooper and just, or any spoon, a regular spoon, and just scoop in the mixture. Don't worry if it's not all very neat, because once we tap down the baking tin, everything gets settled very well. So just fill that in. I'm just showing you a close-up of how I'm filling in the mixture. And here we have about 15 of these honey bell type of cakes, and I'm going to put them in my oven, and I'm going to bake them for at least 30 minutes. at 180 degrees Celsius. Now you will see how beautifully they keep changing color and they get a lovely nice dark brown coating on the top. And now we're just going to test them by poking a knife, and if a knife comes out nice and clean, that means your cakes are all ready. So it took me exactly 25 minutes in my oven, but every oven is different. So now we're just going to let them cool on a rack like this. Let them completely cool down. And our honey bell kind of cake is all ready to enjoy. So once it has cooled down, you can just take off the paper wrapping. Excuse the pink color on my hand. I was preparing some icing and I got a little bit of color on my fingers. And now you can see it's a little bit warm still, but once you break it, it's so soft on the inside and it is so very, very delicious. So now you can make your own honey bell cakes at home. You can even decorate them with some icing. And it's so soft and so moist and just perfect. Now here I have some pak or sugar syrup boiling with some saffron or kesar. Here I have some peppercorns, about half a teaspoon. To this I'm adding about 3/4 of teaspoon of fennel seeds or soft, and we're going to beat this into a very fine powder. I'll leave the recipe for the pak or the sugar syrup in my description box below. Now once we have this fine powder, we'll keep it aside. In a bowl, I've taken about 1 cup of wheat flour. Now to this, I'm going to add about 1 cup of milk, 1 to 1/4 cup of milk. We have to get a batter, but not a very runny batter, not a very thick batter. It is like a dosa batter, similar to a dosa batter. So now I've taken 1 cup of wheat flour and I've taken about 1 1/4 cup of milk, and we're going to make this into a very, very smooth paste. So you can either use a whisk or you can use a spoon or your hands. Just ensure that there is no lumps at all. These are the real instant malpuas. All you have to do is have some sugar syrup ready. Now to this we're going to, this is the runny batter that you need with no lumps at all. And to this we're going to now add this powder which we have ground of pepper and fennel seeds. So this is the twist in it. You know, the pepper has a little bit of a spicy element. The fennel seeds has amazing flavor. So, and here our sugar syrup or our pak is ready. We have some oil for deep frying. Now all you got to do is, once your oil is nice and hot on a low to medium flame, not on a high flame, we're just going to take about 1 tablespoon and just pour it into the hot oil like this. And then we're going to let it nicely fry on both sides till it is golden brown in color. So let it get fried nicely. Remember, your batter has to be of the right consistency, not at all watery or runny, not too thick, just the right consistency. And your oil also has to be quite hot, but on a low to medium flame. Now as you see the rims of this becoming a little golden brown, you can turn it and press it down into the oil. So it becomes nice and crispy. This has to be completely golden brown in color. Now once our malpua or our puri is ready, we're going to directly dip it into our sugar syrup or pak. See that it gets nicely soaked in it, and then we're going to drain off the excess on a tissue paper. So here our malpua is almost getting ready to a light golden brown in color. So just lift that up, drain off the excess oil, and directly just put it into your sugar syrup. So you can see the saffron strands floating in the syrup, and you're just going to turn it around so that it absorbs all the sugar syrup, and since it's nice and hot directly from the oil, it soaks up the sugar syrup. And once that is done, you can just lift it up and put it on a tissue or a kitchen towel to just drain off all the excess. So I'll show you another one. So in the same way, I'll just take a tablespoon of the batter and just drop it directly into the hot oil. This is such an amazing dessert, especially on a nice rainy day, you know, to have these warm malpuas. And they mostly have to be eaten hot. That's up to you. You can also chill them in the fridge and have them cold, or you can prepare the batter, and you know, when you're really hungry and ready to eat this dessert, just fry these puris or malpuas in the oil, put them into the hot or warm pak or sugar syrup, and then just eat them. So in this way, you can see that our puri is nice and golden brown again. So we just have to lift it up from the hot oil, drain the excess oil, and directly dip it into the sugar syrup. So I hope you like this short and sweet malpua recipe. I hope you're going to try it out, and do let me know in the comments box below how you like this short and sweet dessert idea. So now you can see I'm just picking up the malpua and putting it into some sugar syrup. And that's it, friends. Your malpua is all ready to eat. Enjoy this amazing dessert. I'll see you in another video. Take care, guys. This is Akshata saying bye. So guys, let's see today's lovely mini apple pies. So here I'm just taken one large apple, washed it really well, wiped it dry, and now I'm just going to cut it up into very small pieces. Now you can peel the apple and then cut them, but I like to keep the peel on for that extra crunch. So generally they do take off the peel for the apple pie, but I'm keeping the peel in. So now just chop it up into these small little pieces like this. Well, now apples are available, 12 months of the year, and this is a nice way to make a nice little small dessert. So now chop them up into these small little cubes like this. Use a nice sharp serrated knife, that way you'll be able to chop them up really easily. And now we're going to add to this the juice of half a lemon. This adds a flavor, and it also helps to retain the white color of the apples. Otherwise, apples do turn brown. So now mix this lemon juice really nicely with the apples. Now next I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of melted butter. This will keep the apples nice and moist. Again, mix the butter in well. Next, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Now, if you don't have brown sugar, you can use regular sugar. You don't need to use powdered sugar. You can use normal sugar, because once we bake it in the oven, it is going to all melt. And now I'm going to add just about 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder. So I just took my cinnamon and just grated it on my very fine grater. And now I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of flour. Now I'm using all-purpose flour, because this way the apple pieces will not stick together. They'll they'll remain separated like this. Otherwise they all tend to clump together. So with this flour, they kind of don't get too mushy or mixed up together. Now preheat your oven at 180 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes. So this is our mixture. Just set it aside. Now I'm working with my homemade puff pastry. I leave a link to how I make this pastry at home. It doesn't have any egg. It's eggless, and it's really simple to make. So I'll leave a link of how I make the pastry. You can make a pastry at home, or you can buy ready-made pastry. So now just roll out the pastry. Dust your surface with some flour and just roll out the pastry like this. Don't forget to preheat your oven. So I'm just going to cut off the edges so I get an even kind of a surface to work with. So I'm using my cookie pan, and I'm just going to use some rounds to cut them. So I'm going to make about 6 pies. So I need 12 rounds. So I've buttered the surface of the cookie sheet. And I'm just going to place these like this. I'm going to put the filling inside. And I'm going to place the next 6 rounds on top of them like this. So you can use a regular wati or a cookie cutter that's round like this, and seal it up really well. And now with a sharp knife, I'm just going to make a cross in between, so that way the extra heat will escape from it. And then I'm just going to brush it with some butter. And now I'm just going to bake it in a preheated oven for 180 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes. And now you'll have a lovely aroma of your lovely pies baking in the oven. And they're all ready, guys. So just set them cool to room temperature before you demold them, and have them warm. You can also warm them up in your microwave whenever you feel like eating them. So I hope you liked today's short and sweet recipe. Do give it a try, and I'll catch you in my next video sooner than you think. This is Akshata signing off. Take care, guys. Bye.